Hi, I'm Jeremy Hickerson, and I'd like to talk today about why I still believe. And I emphasize the word still a little bit there because I just turned 59 last week. I was raised in a very conservative Christian family, went to Bible college, graduated from Bible college, and during those college years and after, I began to see a disconnect between everything I had thought a Christian life would be and what my own life would be. That there was not an easy way to be a good Christian person. And yet I still believe. The reality held up as an ideal of a Christian life, the way your thoughts should be, the sort of inner life you would have, the way you would interact with other people, the self-sacrifice, the lack of materialism. Those things were not true of me and still aren't. And then there's the whole area of the sort of parochial environment Christians are in. As you grow up as a child, as a young adult, you are only hearing from the inside of a bubble, you're only hearing things that reinforce the faith, the particular branch of the faith even that you're in, as there's many different kinds of Christianity. When you move out into the world, when you start thinking for yourself, when you think about how long the world has existed, the Bible may be certain events, say with Abraham taking place a couple thousand years ago, a little bit more. But why the Bible even? As a reader of the Bible, I do feel that I have a high view of the Bible. It does seem to measure up in many ways of what a holy text from God would be. But how do I know? I mean, it's such a small, it came from a very small group of people in the land of Israel. And think of the size of the universe. Why would the God of the whole universe reveal this the person of this God, reveal himself, if you want to say, or herself, if you want to say? Why would the God of the universe even care about this planet here, which is so infinitesimally small? It doesn't really, it seems incredulous. And that I should say, of this whole planet, that we would pick a religious text from a small nation, the land of Israel, a couple thousand years ago. I'm thinking the population was probably under 100,000 at that time, maybe under 50,000. It seems very narrow. And yet, as I read the Bible, it speaks to me. It has the ring of truth. There are parts I can't explain. There are bloodthirsty parts. There are vengeful parts. There are parts that don't even agree totally with itself. Maybe some of the historical events around the birth of Christ, there's a slightly different chronology between a couple of the Gospels. It's not huge, but it seems very human, this sort of thing. And yet there's other parts that do not seem human at all. The parts that show how bad some of the leaders of the nation of Israel were, that were writing even some of the Bible, like David. The parts that show how some of the sins of Peter, the great leader of the church, and these are recorded and passed on for generations, written down in Scripture. It's not the sort of thing you would do if you're trying to create propaganda. That said, I have to say, I suppose the main, being honest, if I'm honest about it, the main reason I'm a Christian is because I grew up in a Christian family in America in the 20th century. If I'd have been born to an American Indian family 500 years earlier, no, of course not. If I'd been born to a Muslim family in the Middle East, I'd be a Muslim. This is what we do. This is, we're enculturated. There's no denying the effect of that. But I'm glad it turned out that way. So why I still believe, as I think about the intellectual arguments for the existence of God, I don't even have to go there. I know there's a God. I look around me, I see amazing beauty in the natural world. I see the vastness of it. I see the order to it, all the different species. Yeah, sure, it could have happened by chance, but I don't believe that. But why? Why this particular faith? Why Christianity? Sure, there's a God, but that God doesn't, that God could be many different things. How do I know that it's the God of the Christian Bible? Well, I don't. I really don't. I can't prove it. I don't think anyone can. I also believe somebody from another faith could find their way to God within that faith, perhaps through Buddhism, perhaps through Islam. Judaism, of course, Christianity came from Judaism, and Islam is pretty close to Judaism in many ways. But even something that's with no connection at all, I see even in the Old Testament God responding to foreign rulers, showing them dreams and visions sometimes. I don't know if Christianity really does have the monopoly on things in this respect. It's just what I happen to be in through my background, but I do feel strongly that it's real. I think Jesus really existed. I believe he died, and actually believe he rose from the dead. I don't think that sort of miraculous supernatural thing is out of the question for a supernatural being that could create the universe. And this is totally a matter of faith. There's no way to prove this, of course. What about the atonement aspect of Christianity? Redemption, the forgiveness of sins, the propitiation of sins through the death of Christ, through his blood. I believe that. There's no question in my mind that I need that I need redemption. There was a guy in my writing critique group that was writing one time about his Christian beliefs and what he thought about the afterlife. And I think he wrote something like he hoped God would treat him fairly. And I wrote down on feedback to his piece there, I said, I pray he won't treat me fairly, because I need help. I know what I'm like. I know the things I've thought. I know the things I've done. I know that I need redemption. There's just no question about it. The other thing, the utilitarian aspect of Christianity, that it works. That if you are fighting addiction, as we all may in some way, I certainly do. I struggle with pornography. Others have drugs, alcohol, various things. What you find that works is a religious practice. This is something that they even teach in Alcoholics Anonymous. You don't even have to believe it if you follow the practice, the routine, and it will help. And that's definitely true for me. My reading of the Bible, I don't do it every day, but I try to. It's similar the way I play guitar. I don't play guitar every day, but if I've gone for very long without playing, I got to play. I got a couple days with no music in it, and then I have to do it. It's a main part of my life, and I'm not quite as good about my Christian practice, but again, if it's gone too long, I know I need it. I know I'm skating on thin ice. There's an image in David Foster Wallace's book, Infinite Jest, where he's talking about some of the, he's getting into the culture of recovery, talking about Alcoholics Anonymous, and he talks about a dream where there's everybody that he knows in the recovery group is huddled in a church. They're bowing down or something. They're bent over praying, and they're all huddled together in a circle. They're praying. They're all together, and every so often a giant beak comes in from the outside and snatches one of them away. That's how quickly you can go back to addiction. That's how narrow of a margin you have. You don't want to take chances with that. If you've got something that keeps you going in a good way, on a good path, you stay with it. So the utilitarian aspects of Christianity, that it works. There's other things that may work too. I don't deny that, but this works for me. But that wouldn't be enough if I didn't think it was real. It might be enough to get me to do it for the utilitarian value, but I couldn't pretend to believe something I didn't. The other main element that is important to me, why I believe, why I have faith, why I'm a Christian, is the aspect of hope. To have hope in your life, to think that there's a design to things, that there's some kind of a reason, that there's some kind of a direction that things are moving in, that God is in control ultimately, in spite of the terrible things that can happen, depending on what your circumstances are. There's a hope. There's a hope that God made us for good, that creation was good. He wanted us to enjoy the creation. He wanted good things for us, not bad. I do believe that. And that's where I'll end this. I have hope. I still believe. I know many things now that I didn't know when I was younger. I see problems explaining certain aspects of Christian faith, but I still believe. I'm Jeremy Hickerson. Thanks for watching. Click like if you like this, and go ahead and subscribe if you like to see more of this sort of thing. It helps my channel. Thanks a lot. See you next time.